Okay, so I'm recording now. So I said every business was created for a particular purpose. So there's an aim and there's an objective, right? And in as much as like most businesses were created to succeed, not all of them actually succeed, right? So every business starts with an idea, right? And over a period of time, it begins to grow and then it becomes something else, right? Some of them end up dying, some of them end up becoming companies, and then you have like more products in that company. And Kellogg's is a good example of this. So Kellogg's is a breakfast brand. They create cereals. So I don't know if some people eat Cocoa Pops, Rice Krispies, cornflakes. You know, they have like different products, right? Different product lines. And they started this in 1984. And the first thing they started with was with cornflakes, right? Cornflakes is what made them popular. Before they started creating Cocoa Pops, they started creating Rice Krispies. And as at 2006, they had already recorded about $26 billion in sales around the world. Then the next one is Google. Everybody knows Google, everybody uses Google search, right? And it was first created in Stanford University by Larry Page and Sergey Brin. And the reason why it was created was to link web pages and to rank them. So it wasn't basically for searching as we use it now, right? And when it was first created, it was created and named Backrub, no Google. It was after a while, it was now renamed to Google. But now Google is now under a company called Alphabet, and there's YouTube, there's G Suite, that's where like Google Meet, Gmail, all of them come under, and there's Android. And now the goal is to make the world's information more accessible. Why are we talking about Google and Kellogg's? So basically what I'm trying to say is every product, every company starts with an idea, and over time, like it grows and it evolves. Sorry, just a second. Sorry, guys. Can anybody hear me? Hello?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, I'm so sorry about that. Yeah. So saying that every product starts with an idea before it grows over time. And the first thing that we're going to examine is the product development life cycle. So what is the product development life cycle? So for example, we throw it out as a question. What do you guys think happens? How is the product created? Is there anybody that wants to take a chance and answer? Like, how do you think products are created over time? Anybody? I mean, there's no right, there's no wrong answer. How do you think products are created?
Okay. Can I give it a try? After this speaking.
Yes.
Okay. So I think every product starts from an idea and then goes through the ideation phase, whereby you think on that idea, expand it, and see how to bring it to realization. And then from the ideation, you can then, if you are not capable of developing the idea and bringing it to life, you get the right people involved, discuss the idea, and then they confirm to you that yes, it's possible, and you agree on how to go about it. And it goes through the development stages, and once it's developed, the product then goes to market or is launched. It goes through some testing definitely before the launch.
Yes, I think you've actually answered well. That's like a good attempt. Is there anybody else that has a different opinion? Is there anybody that has a business here? Anybody with a company that wants to try? Adela, do you want to give it a shot? Jessica, your hands are up, you can try. Hello, Jessica.
Okay. Hi, good afternoon. So, for a product development lifecycle first begins with the ideation or what the customer wants. So you're going to like gather the customer requirements. So there will be a stakeholder meeting to know what exactly is to be built, what application and what it's supposed to do. So there you would get all the information, and then there will be like a planning phase where you plan the resources, you plan, like what like how you go about, like how you go about the product, as in how you go about starting the product development, the resources, the engineers or whoever is involved to get the product to life. Then you also have to do the design. So based on what the customer says, you also have to design the product to get like a kind of a prototype or something. So there'll be a design phase, and that design is what you then take to the engineers to say, okay, this is actually what the customer wants. Can we do it? And then the engineers will, so at each phase of this development, there's always a feedback to the customer. So this is like an agile, so there are different kind of development. There's agile, there's waterfall. So but the ideal one is agile, where at each phase of the product development, you are going back with the customer to keep them in the loop, so that if there's any changes at every phase, you'll be able to like change and move and continue. So from design phase, you go to this engineer development phase. The engineers will then develop based on what's given to them, and if there's any features to remove or add, you also design. And then after that, I think what else? Then you go live. So you go back to you go and do a demo to the customer to show them what's have been built, test it. So you now do your testing, unit testing, however testing you want to do, and then before you go live. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, thanks. That was a very good attempt. So I think that we can all agree that every product, every company starts with an idea, right? And before like the idea is built out, you have to test it first. We need to ensure that there's a market for that idea. So everybody that answered has actually answered correctly. So I'm just going to go back to my slides now. So if you have any questions, don't forget to use the link in the chat, or you can just put it on the chat after I'm going to answer it. So I was saying the product development lifecycle is a 6-stage plan that allows you to take a product from concept to final market. So if you, I don't know if you were here when they were responding, right? Different everybody, like during the development stage, like development is not an isolated activity. Different people are responsible for different things. When Jessica was speaking, she mentioned designers, she mentioned engineers, she mentioned testing, right? So basically, the product development lifecycle speaks to how a product goes from being just a concept, not having a market, to how it's being built, and then you can now see it in the market, because like now you can see Google search, you can see Kuda, you can see all these products in the market, but like how did they get there in the first place? So I'm going to continue sharing my screen now. So the first stage, right, is called the ideation phase. So it means that everybody, this is like the idea generation phase. It's very popular. Everybody says that everybody has an idea. Even I have an idea, right? But is the idea a profitable idea? Is it something that there's a market for? Is it being built? So every product, everything starts with an idea. So at this stage, right, we brainstorm product concepts, customer needs, pricing. So now, like, you're not just having that idea, right? You're not also validating. You also try to validate the idea at the beginning. So the first thing you need to do is make sure that you're generating an idea, right? But you need to know that not all ideas are actually great products, right? And then there's also the execution that matters, and not just the idea. So the second part, that's the second stage, is idea validation. So now at this stage, right, you are now saying, okay, I have this nice idea. I want the world to fly, or I want this car to be a boat. Like, you have like all these really nice ideas, but now you're now trying to see if that idea is valid and there's a market for it. And I'll give you an example. So I was explaining earlier that when Google started, it started as Backrub. So now, how did they now change from Backrub to Google, right? So CUDA started as well. Before CUDA became what it is today, how did it develop over time? So now you need to know that, like, for every idea that you have, right, you need to do your market research and you need to know who you are solving for. As a product manager, your job is to understand the why of the product and to know that you're solving for the right people. So at this point, you are narrowing down the list of, like, you have plenty ideas. Now is when you narrow it out. You're now beginning to sketch out what the product should look like. At this point, you've not started developing, but you begin to have an idea of what the product might look like, right? Then you know that, okay, this is the problem we're solving, right? And I'll give you an example. AWO is an app that allows you to send money to phone numbers, right? So you know that there are lots of fintechs like right now in Nigeria with the main aim of banking the unbanked, right? But you also see that these apps or these fintechs are telling you to download apps. But would the unbanked actually go and download an app? Would they go to the bank? Is that what they would do? Now, AO came up with the idea. They noticed that everybody has a phone number, right? So if you have a phone number, that means opening an account is like the simplest thing. I'm sorry for the background noise here. So now they have validated it. Okay, would people act? Everybody has a phone number. Is there a market for this product before the product was being built? So I also mentioned that there has to be value proposition. You have to do your marketing strategy. And what does it mean for this product to succeed? So this is typically the second stage in the product development lifecycle. Okay, I'm sorry guys, can you still hear me?
Yes, I can.
Yeah, sorry about the noise earlier. So the third stage is called prototyping. So for you to build you've already said, okay, fine, I have this idea, you validated that there's a market for this idea. Now, I don't know how many people have heard of the concept of MVP, and some people will say it's MNP. So MVP here means like the minimum viable product, and MNP is the minimum marketable product. So more people are moving from the idea of a viable product to more of a marketable product, right? So now it means that at this point, you're beginning to sketch out what the product looks like. So it could be a wireframe. And wireframing could either be, you could just use a paper and pencil to draw out what the product would look like. You could use Figma. So at this point, you are collaborating with your designer. As a product manager, you are describing what the product should look like, right? And then you're also communicating with the designer. So the wireframing is not only the job of a product manager, it's also the job of the designer, right? It's a collaborative effort. But in some companies, you see that wireframing might be the job of the product manager, and in some companies, it's solely the job of a designer. So it just depends, right? So here you're doing a prototype. This is what the product should look like. And it helps you to identify the areas of risk. We see, okay, this is what the initial product would look like. Is there something that we're missing out? Is there something that we should do before we now start building the product? Because there's one mistake you don't want to make, right? You don't want to go and put in a lot of effort to develop an entire product and see that, oh, this product is lacking after you spend so much time and so much effort to develop that product. I hope you guys understand. If you don't understand, please let me know in the chat. Then the next part is design. So now you have your design and you have prototype, you have design. So in some situations, right, prototyping and design can be collapsed into one because they basically entail similar things, right? But the design phase is where like you've taken what you've already done in ideation, the idea validation and wireframing. Now you're now doing an entire design. Now the product manager is not responsible for doing the design, but as a product manager, you're responsible for documenting how the user should embrace or how the person should experience this product. Now, I know that you probably open GBA, you've opened GT, you've opened CUDA Bank to send money, but have you asked yourself, who is responsible for how that product is being experienced? Right? Who said that I have to log in before I send money? Who has said I have to impute the account number and I need to make sure that it is 11 digits or it's 10 before I send money, right? So as a product manager, you're responsible for documenting how the product should fail, right? And then the designer goes ahead to implement these requirements. Do you understand? So as a product manager, you're documenting. So you can do your documentation on Google Sheets, you can do it on Google Docs, and you can use Notion. It depends on you and it depends on the organization, right? So the design phase is where like you do a mock-up of how the products would look like. So all these fancy designs and illustrations, this is where it's done. And when design is being done, right, you do it with the target audience in mind. You're thinking of the user, right? So now design should not only be beautiful, it needs to solve a problem, and you need to ensure that it's solving for a particular target market, right? So if you create a product that looks like a rainbow and you are trying to solve for blind people, ask yourself, is that design actually solving a problem, right? Or like you're trying to create a product for people that they can't, maybe like they're very sensitive to colors, right? In the product that you're building, that design, does it actually solve a problem? Do you understand? So like little things like this, right, are like things that you need to think of in the design phase. Sorry guys, please just a second. Okay, I'm so sorry, guys. So I was saying earlier, right, that design is not done at once. It's an iterative effort. So when Jessica was explaining, she mentioned something about Agile. And I'll explain what Agile is because we're still going to talk about it in a later class, right? But Agile basically means an iterative process. It means that you are doing something until it becomes perfect. I said earlier that Google started from backrub, meaning that the first version of the product is not what it looks like right now. Do you understand? So design takes multiple iterations. It takes different feedback. So as you're designing, you're getting feedback, the designer makes it better and stuff like that. So that is for design phase. The next phase is called validation and testing. So during validation and testing, right, there are two things happening here. The first thing is that the idea or the design is being developed by engineers, right? That means somebody is writing the code. The product has gone from being just a design to being an actual product, right? It means that the engineers are writing their code, they probably put a lot of bugs or they're going to pull bugs, but it's not always intentional, trust me. And then in this phase, you're also testing. Testing could be alpha testing and it could be beta testing. It could be an internal test or it could be an external test. And I will explain, right? So after you've done your fancy design, your engineers have developed it, you need to ensure that this product actually works as expected. So I earlier mentioned that you write your product documentation, right? You write your product documentation, need to ensure that what they build actually works as expected. And in this case, this is what you call an alpha test. An alpha test is internal, right? You have either you as a product manager, you have your QA person, and there's some internal stakeholders testing this product. As a product manager, it's not your core job to test, but you need to do it. I'm sorry, guys. So I was saying, like, you need to test the product. So the key responsibility, the person that is mainly responsible for testing is the quality assurance person. Is also called, they're also called software testers. Different people call them different things. But as a product manager, you are the one that certifies if the product meets an acceptance criteria. That means that, is this product acceptable to you based on what you have written? I have said that I want this product to fly. Is the product flying left or is the product flying right? Or can it fly both ways? These are like the questions that you begin to ask yourself. Then for external test is, you can call it your beta testing. So it's like a closed group of people trying to test. It helps you to validate your idea. So if, for example, I'll give an example of Bitcoins. I don't know if anybody does Bitcoin here, right? But Bitcoin is an app that allows you to trade cryptocurrency, right? So basically you can buy and you can exchange. when the CEO came up with the idea, it was a family and friend thing, right? So his friends wanted to buy crypto, they wanted to sell and stuff like that. And then he created this product. When he first created it, he sent it out to these friends that wanted to trade cryptocurrency, and then told them to test. Now that's like a closed beta test, after which you can now launch to the public, right? So at this point, you're doing development and you're also testing. Please, if you can't hear me or if the noise is too much, please let me know in the chat. The next one is product launch. And I think this is every product manager's dream, right? So now you've gone through 3 months, 4 months, 5 months, 6 months of development. Now you are now launching. When you launch a product is when you put your product to the face of your customer, right? So you've done your research, you've done development, you've done design, you've done everything. So at this point, you are launching. Sorry, just a second, please. Okay, so can you guys hear me, please? If you can hear me, please just quickly answer. Hello?
Yes.
Okay, so I was explaining.
Yes, I can hear you.
All right, thank you. So I was saying that product launch is like every product manager's dream, because now it means that your hard work is now in the face of the customer, right? It means that you are shipping your product, right? You are validating market interest, you are validating how people are reacting to it, and you are seeing people sign up for this product. So this is typically another stage in product life cycle. There's a chart. Yes, okay, thanks. So the last, I think there's one more. Yeah, this is the last part. But I want to quickly say something. Now that you've gone through all these phases, right? I want you to know that launch is not where your job stops as a product manager. It is typically where your work starts, because after product launch, you need to ensure that your customers are satisfied, right? People are using it, you're getting feedback. You sometimes hear that your product is not working and all of that. So this product development life cycle never ends, it's continuous, right? And your product does not end after it is shipped, right? At some point, it might become another app, right? I will explain. You know, when I said Kellogg started with conflicts. After a while, they did market research. After market research, right, it became Cocoa Pops, it became Rice Krispies. So there are different versions of what your product will look like based on what the market is saying, based on based on your competitors, and making sure that your product actually has competitive advantage. Do you understand? So I'll give an example. Is anybody that uses a big app here? So a big app is like the Cash App of Nigeria. So, you know, everybody likes giveaway, everybody likes free 2K. So you want to ask someone to quickly send you money. And for you to beg for money, or for you to ask for money from your family friend, or on Twitter or Instagram, you typically have to send them your account number, right? So the first version of Abeg basically allowed people to ask for money without actually sending them their phone number or without sending them their account number. So basically it was just you sharing what your name is on the app, and then they send money to you. But if you go to Abeg right now, that is not the only thing you can do. You can buy and sell, you can buy credit, you can share money, you can do a job. So there are different things that you can do. What I'm trying to say is your product does not stop after launch. That's where your job starts. You need to take feedback. You need to ensure that this product is actually solving a problem. Is the why still valid? What you built to solve a problem, is it solving that problem? If it's not, how can you make it better? You're also getting feedback. So you're also getting feedback based off what you've done. So at this point, I'm going to take a pause now, and I'm going to take questions. Is there anybody that has any question before we continue?
Yes. I posted 2 questions there.
Okay. So I got a question. The question is wireframing where the user case and user story starts? Not necessarily, right? Your user story and your user case starts at the point where you are validating that idea. So at the point of idea validation, you are speaking to your customers now. You're doing user research, right? It means that you are meeting people. You're asking them questions. Do you have this problem? When you have this problem, what methods or what have you done to solve this problem? Did it work for you? Did it not work for you? Stuff like that. During that time, you're also coming up with ideas, right? It's also like that you're brainstorming and saying that, okay, what you said actually, what people have said, you are going to your team. Now, that means it's not your job alone. Now, as a product manager, you bring your designer, you bring your engineer, you have your business analyst or your marketing person. You people will brainstorm. After that brainstorming, right, you now have an idea of what the product should look like. Then you begin to document the user story. Okay, now this is what the customer has said. Then you write your user story to now say, okay, fine. Is that user story that you've written that would inform what the wireframe will look like? Because if you don't have a user story, you don't have documentation to speak to the wireframes, you're going to be working on just vibes. And as product managers, you can't work on just vibes, right? So there needs to be like validation. So which is why I was also saying that at each point in the product development lifecycle, you need to continually document. You need to document everything. Documentation is the superpower of the product manager. So if you are somebody that you don't enjoy writing, I need to tell you that you need to enjoy it now because it's something that you would always do. So if you speak to customer A, you need to document it. If you speak to customer B, you have to document that. So there's another question that says that difference between alpha and beta testing. Okay, so the difference between alpha test and beta test is alpha test is it could be both of them could be internal and external, but alpha test is typically internal, right? It means that your software engineer, your software testers, your quality assurance personnel, you as a product manager, you are testing, right? You are making sure that the products that they developed actually matches what you've already said it should look like. So I'll give an example. So I've documented that, oh, I want to build a product for students. So basically the idea is when you go to a particular app, upload your notes. When you upload your notes and get questions so that you can practice better for your exam, right? That is what I've said as a product manager. Now, as a product manager, the quality assurance person, and I as a product manager will now try this process and see, okay, can I upload my notes? The note I've uploaded, does it upload properly? Can I upload any type of note? Can I upload PDF? Can I upload doc? Can I upload Excel sheets? So it differs, right? Then now say, okay, fine, I can upload. That's check. Then you now see, okay, I've uploaded my notes finished. What kind of questions am I getting? Are the questions making sense or like they're just vibes? Or is it a question that is not even in the note, like it makes no sense? Do you understand? So that's basically what alpha test is. Alpha test is you making sure that the product ticks what you've said. So it's like, I want to see this place, green, tick. Does the app have green? Yes, tick. Is the product accessible? Can blind people look at it without, I said blind people, sorry. Can people that are deaf, right, can they access it? Is there sound? You know that they cannot hear. So like there's no need for it to have sound in the first place. Is it accessible to all users? Check, that sort of a thing. That's what alpha test is. So for beta test is you validating your product or validating your idea against a small group before it goes out to the market. Now, and I was giving an example of Bitcoin. When Bitcoin started, right, it was for people that wanted to trade crypto, right? So when it first launched, it was within a small group of friends, right? So when the app launched, it gave friend A, friend B, friend C. Does this actually meet your demand? Is this what you're looking for? Yes, yes, yes. Okay, can you use it for a bit? Use it for a bit and give me feedback. They gave me feedback. Then I went to go and build on it. I took their feedback, I made it better, and then I launched it. So typically, beta test is you validating an idea. It's not just validating, it's not just checking if the product works. Do you understand? So that's typically the difference between alpha test and beta test. I mean, Nancy, do you understand? Cool, thanks. Sorry, I think I missed one question for Akimbode. Akimbode, so what app is used for testing? So I can't really tell you that this is the app used for testing, right? But for different types of tests, that your software assurance person or your QA person will be doing, there are different apps for it. But typically, when you are doing your app test or you're doing your product test, they are giving you a version of the product, right? It is typically on one link before it's out there. So that's the one that you're testing against. One more question. When is the requirement gathering done and who certifies the requirement? Requirement gathering is done during the idea validation stage, which is where you are doing your research, you are speaking to people. At that point, you are gathering your research, you are gathering requirements, you are doing your user story documentation and all of that. Who certifies your requirements? You have stakeholders that you report to. You report to the marketing person, you report to the sales person, you report to the CEO, you report to the CTO, you report to the head of product. So at each stage during the product development lifecycle, you need to carry people along. And these are the people that say, okay, we're good to go to move on to the next stage. Now, I also need to mention that you don't necessarily have to finish point A before you go to point B. So development and so you can be doing design, right? Be doing development and be doing testing at the same time. So all of these can be going on simultaneously. You don't have to finish one before you move to the other. Do you guys understand? Is there any more questions before I move on to the next one? You guys, I have questions at the end of the class. So you have questions, ask now before we move on. Can anybody hear me?
Yes, Tomisin.
Yes. So further to the requirement gathering question, I just want to ask, how do the engineers and the relevant stakeholders, how do they eventually arrive at the platforms to use on the back end, ready to get the database versions and how they capture user data for applications that do require user registrations and document maybe ID verifications and all of that? How do the team arrive at we want to use this app, since there are a whole range of products that can be used on the back end for those functions?
Sorry, I'm not really sure I understood your question. Can you say it to me again?
So I asked that how do the team arrive at the conclusion of which apps or products to use on the back end, say for database purposes, like checking user registrations on the back end, having the details of the users stored or registered? How do they eventually get onto that? And then can those products be changed later on the long run? Maybe like you are using a database when you launch the product, and then you see for whatever reason that let's change this thing to something else.
Okay, I think I get your question. So I think your question is, how do people arrive at the conclusion that this is a particular product or this is a particular technology you want to use while building a product? Is that what you mean?
Yes.
Okay, so the thing is, like, I can't tell you that this is a particular way. My answer would be that it depends. And I think if you ask me a lot of questions, I'll be saying it depends, right? Because different things work for different companies and different people are looking out for different things. So at some point, right, you think that, okay, for my company, what am I validating against? Am I using, even your CTO, right? There are certain things that he's thinking about. He's probably saying, I'm thinking of scalability. This technology that I'm using, can it take scale? Is it that if I have up to 1 million users, can he accept that? It could be that, is it affordable enough? So at different points, different companies are validating against different things. So there's no that, yes, they validate against this thing. And it could also be just like a test. You are doing it based off trial and error. So some people, for example, might try MongoDB. They can try MySQL for database, right? It does not necessarily mean that that's what's going to work for them in the future. They might say, okay, we're starting with MySQL today, and maybe at some point, they're now seeing that their product is now becoming more difficult to manage. They now decide that, okay, I'm moving from my SQL to MongoDB. So it depends, right? There's no one way. You know that there are like 1 million programming languages, right? So you typically pick what works for you, what works for your product. And people that are typically involved in these conversations are like the CTO, your principal engineer. So as a product manager, it's not typically your call to do that, or you are not necessarily responsible for that decision. Does that answer your question?
Yes, very well. Thank you.
Jessica, hi. You have a question? Jessica, your hands are up. Do you want to unmute your mic? Okay. While Jessica is thinking of doing that, Chizoba, I already spoke about internal and external testing. Do you want to be more specific? Jessica, I already did that. Okay, I think you're muted now.
Okay, it just happened now.
Okay.
Okay, adding to the last conversation, I think also that the enterprise architect in the company can also help with the requirements of the kind of infrastructure needed for, for a product development. Yeah. So, but my question is, you mentioned that, we don't have to complete a phase before going to the next phase. So, but I know that, there's sometimes where you just finish a particular feature and then you go live, not necessarily you have finished the entire product. Is that what you're referring to, or are you referring to something else? Like, at what point do you think that, we don't have to finish a phase before going to the next phase? Because based on the kind of development style someone is using, I don't know. I think maybe you should.
So I think, again, the answer is that it depends, right? It depends on what you are building. It depends on the structure of the organization. So now, if I'm done with my idea validation, I've done my research, I've written my user story. Now, you know that development and design can go on simultaneously. So now, let me use Chizoba, for example. Chizoba has done, in my app, I want authentication, I want to be able to send money, I want to be able to receive money. If Chizoba finishes the design for authentication and I've gotten approval to go with authentication, the developer can start with authentication, right? If Chizoba is done with send money, developers can start with send money. If they are done developing, testing can start, right? So these things can typically happen in tandem. I don't think that you'll see that in most organizations, you don't wait for one thing, you don't wait for design to finish completely before you move to development. If you're not, you can't, sometimes, like, you don't wait for the entire features to be developed before you launch, because sometimes if you wait for all your features to be developed, you might never launch, right? Sometimes you might need to release the features that this is where prioritization comes in. What you're prioritizing comes first, because at the end of the day, you can never finish development. You can never finish building a product, right? So you ship the first things first that meets a customer's demands, then you continue later on. So that's why I said that at the beginning, it depends. Sometimes you might need to maybe launch an entire product. It might be that first of all, you are launching one feature before you're now building on multiple features at the end of the day. Do you get, Jessica? Jessica? So you should be two.
Yes, I get. Thank you.
You're welcome. Chizoba, do you want to tell me what part you want me to speak about before I move on to the next thing? Chizoba? She's still on the call. I can't even see her. Okay. I will move on to the next part. So if you have any questions during the course of the presentation, again, I'm dropping it on the chat. So just ask, and then, or you can put it on the chat. Then I will take that once I get there. So I'm going to continue sharing my screen now.
I think Jessica's hands are still raised.
Jessica, do you have any other question before I start? Jessica. Oh, your hands. Okay, maybe I should lower it then. Okay, so we hands are up again. Okay. Let me share my screen. Okay, so the first part we spoke about was the product development lifecycle. Is understanding product lifecycle. So we have seen that we can launch, we can do ideation, we can do idea validation, we do prototype, we do tests, we do all of those, and then we launch, right? But what does a product look like at the end of the day? What is the lifecycle? I think it's common knowledge that you can't remain the same way forever. Even as human beings, right? So we're a child before you became a teenager, you became an adolescent, so you be an adult. Then at the end of the day, God forbid, but everybody still die, right? It's just the same way it works for products. Every product has its own life cycle. It will be born, it will grow old, it will die, or it might not die. It continues to improve, and then it now bears more products, right? Every product has different stages, and typically there are 4 stages of the product life cycle. The first one is introduction. The second part is growth. The third part is maturity, and the fourth one is decline. And this entire sequence or this entire stages are called the product life cycle. And it's typically the length of time when a product is launched to the time when it dies or it is no longer in the market. I'll give an example. If you go to, I think, Death by Google, you see that Google has about 200 dead products, meaning that it's normal for some products to die. And as product managers, right, you probably don't want your product to die, but there are sometimes that you can't help but some products to die. And I'll give you an example. So for me as a product manager, I think like this was like one of the most humbling times in my career, right? My team and I had worked on a product for say 3 to 6 months. And at the end of the day, we had to kill the product. And it's like, why did I go through so much stress for this product to die? But I'm going to tell you now that as a product manager, it's not your fault. Right? These things happen. And what you can do is like build on it. First of all, if the product is about to die, it's either you pivot that idea, you see what went wrong, and okay, what did we do that did not go well? How can we make it better? Should we build more features, or should we remove certain features? Should we pivot it, or should we totally kill the product? So basically, it is when a product is introduced to market to when it grows, right? And there are different efforts that will be required by the product manager and the product team in general, and at these different stages. So this is it, right? So the first stage I mentioned is introduction. And if you see, like, it goes like a graph. It starts low before it goes up and then it drops again, right? It's like human beings. When you're a child, when you came to the world, you were very small. Then you became a little taller. You became more taller. Then you now actually blew up. You probably got married, you gave birth, and now you're not like 50, you are 60, you are 70. That is at the point of decline, and then you die. That is like how typically, that's like the most straightforward explanation, the most straightforward example that I can give, right? So now I said that there are 4 stages of the product development lifecycle, and at the first stage is introduction. And we spoke about the product development lifecycle. When you are doing idea validation, you're doing ideation, you're doing idea validation when you launch, right? Those in a way can be in the introduction phase. The part where you launch is when you are introducing a product. When you first launch your product is when you first introduce it to the market. So I'll give you an example. I don't know who watches Big Brother here. I think in the last maybe 2 seasons ago for Big Brother Nigeria, that is when Kuda Bank first launched. And when it first launched, a lot of people did not know Kuda, and it was in a way through Big Brother, a lot of people knew about Kuda, so they are just introduced it to the market, and they're like, oh, come and buy my product, and then you see it on Big Brother, you see it on billboards, you see it everywhere, to the extent that if I open Instagram, I'm seeing Kuda. If I open Snapchat, I'm seeing Kuda everywhere. So in this way, like, you're building a product, you're launching a product. That's the first thing. It's like when you first come to the world, they say, okay, well, welcome to Nigeria. That's what we think. Do you understand? So at this point, right, the product begins to build awareness. At the introduction phase, you are building awareness. At this stage, you are doing a lot of marketing and you're trying to put the product in the face of the customer. It's like, I built this product. You built this product, but this product needs to be used. You need to put it in the face of people that need it. So it's either you're doing marketing, you're having your salespeople go to companies, if you're doing B2B, you're doing enterprise, or you are doing B2C marketing. You are putting ads on Instagram, putting ads on Snapchat, putting ads on Google, putting it on Twitter, and having, in some situations, you can have ambassadors say, okay, guys, I'll use my product. So that's when you see, for people that like licorice, they will say, okay, licorice, come and be my ambassador, so that they can build awareness towards that product. Do you understand? So at this stage, right, the product is typically not making a lot of money. You are spending more money than you are making because you are spending time on marketing, you are spending money on marketing, you are using a lot of effort. You are trying to make sure that your product is as competitive as possible. For example, now there are a lot of fintech products. But I think that if you ask the layman on the road, a lot of people know about Kuda. And that's because they put a lot of effort into marketing, and you can see, and they make sure that the product is as competitive as possible. If you don't like the product because it doesn't work or it works, you will like it because of their marketing. You must like it for a particular reason. Do you understand? So at this point, marketing is high. You are doing a lot of research. What is the customer saying? What is the market saying? Is there something we can do to improve our product while also pushing marketing? You're also ensuring that your product is competitive. And I'm using fintech as an example because the fintech market has a lot of competition. Competition is very, very stiff. So at this point, you're making sure that your product is as competitive as possible. Do you understand? So the next stage is typically called the growth stage. At this point, some people also refer to it as the takeoff stage. So at this point, people are beginning to use your products, right? You are spending less time developing. You are still channeling marketing efforts. Marketing efforts are still high because, like, you are still saying, okay, people are accepting it. You want more people to accept it and stuff like that. So you're still building awareness and stuff. So promotion is still high, but it's not. It might not be as gruesome as the introduction phase. By this time, you're beginning to see users, you're getting feedback, and you're seeing all of this, right? And the third part is the maturity phase. The maturity phase is now, yes, I've arrived. I'm in the market. People are using me. And at this stage, marketing efforts are low. You're making profits, right? And you will now begin to see more competition. Do you understand? So now you see that when Kuda first came, they're still doing marketing, but marketing might not be as much as before, right? You see that Go Money has come, AO has come, GT Bank wants to release their own version of fintech product, stuff like that. And let me use Bitcoin for example. You can see that there is Bitcoin. Bitcoin has gone high. It has gone to 60K. You're now seeing Ethereum, you're seeing different type of coins and stuff like that. Like, do you understand? So now at this point, you're stable, you're getting more competition at this stage. Typically, that's what happens. And usage might kind of drop at this stage, right? And if usage drops, the products can die at this stage, which is why at certain points, you see, if you go to your app store now, you go to your Play Store, there is an iPhone, there is an Android phone, you will see that you have an update. You need to update your app. They've added something new. They changed the design because they need users to be excited about something and look forward to something. If you don't do anything to keep your users happy or make sure that you're satisfying your users, your product will die. Do you understand? Now, the way Google works is amazing, right? You think that when they first released the first version of Google and they released it, do you think that's where they stopped? No, that's not where they stopped, because if they didn't put any more effort, their search engines like Bing, which other one, like Brave, now Brave has its own search engine. All these ones will come into the market, right? And then they can take over the market. Do you understand? So typically, like, you need to add more things for people to be excited. See Google Meet, for example. During the pandemic, more people started going remote. A lot of people started using Zoom. A lot of people started using Google Meet. Do you understand? If Google and Zoom did not do something, who is this person? You're writing on my screen. So if you don't do something to keep your products more competitive, right, there's going to be, your product will die. Do you understand? So that's when like you include nice to haves, you do something so that people are continuously excited, right? Then the last stage is the decline stage. The decline stage is where a lot of products die. You're not putting so much effort, you're not doing marketing, you're not innovating on your product. So typically it will die. And most times what you would have is just loyal customers, people that first bought into your product, just sticking with it. And it's also referred to as the terminal stage. So this point, sales is dropping, production is halt, then it's no more profitable, and in some cases like product diet. So at this stage also, you need to do something to excite people so that they will come back and continually use your product. So I'm going to take questions at this point. So if you have any questions, now is the time before we go into something else. Sorry, yeah, okay. Who has any question for me? Questions, people? Please, can anybody still hear me?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
Okay, Akimbode, go first, then we don't go next. Okay, then Bumi.
Oh, I don't have a question.
Okay.
I was saying I can see here. Yeah.
Oh, thanks. Ridwan, do you have a question? Your hands
Yes,
up.
I do. Yeah, I have a question.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you for the presentation. My question is this. There's this brand. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you clearly.
St. Louis Sugar. We all know this sugar, right? The cube sugar, that's St. Louis Sugar.
Yeah.
The product has been using the same kind of design, no promotion, no advertisement, no anything. And no matter what, they're still relevant in the market. What do you think could be their strategy for them to still remain without changing the brand, coming up with the promo, advertisement, and stuff like that? And no matter what, people will still use and buy St. Louis Sugar. What is their secret? Please, I'm curious about that.
Before I answer that question, I'm going to put out a poll. I want people to tell me if they think, just so you see a poll on your screen, right? You just select if it's yes or no, right? You tell me, do you think that St. Louis is as popular? Don't answer on the chat. You tell me if it's as popular as it used to be, right? And then we'll now come and you now tell me at what stage do you think that St. Louis is on the product life cycle. So just a second. Just a second, guys. So just tell me. Okay, so yes, so there is a poll. Just tell me, do you think St. Louis is as relevant as it used to be? There's going to be another question now. At what stage do you think St. Louis is on the product life cycle? And for people that are saying yes and saying no, you have to tell me why. Do you get? So
I can't vote on this poll.
Why?
I think I'm opposed.
Okay, so let me, who is the person speaking? Sorry.
Talking about this weekend.
Okay, just a second. That is better. Okay, you can try voting now. Has everybody voted? I'm going to end the poll now. So I think we have 50-50. Cool, nice. 70%, 12 people only voted, okay. So you will see that we have 6 people saying yes, 6 people saying no. If you think that St. Louis is, if you selected yes, please unmute your mic and tell me why you think that St. Louis is as relevant as it used to be. Unmute your mic, raise your hands, and if you want me to select you to ask you to unmute, I would unmute you. Chizoba, Oh, you can unmute your mic. Raise your hand if you selected it. I can't really
For
hear
me,
you. Okay, I can hear you now.
for me, I think St. Louis is still relevant in the market, and I can say this because um we consumers, at first, when a product is in the market and they have made a strong, as in they've made a strong foundation and people trust their product in terms of quality and everything for a very, very long time. St. Louis has been there in the market. So the product. I mean, that is what I can say. People still believe that even if 10 other companies open today, St. Louis is the one we know. I don't know, like they believe that it's if it's not ever, forget it. No matter how many companies are out there in the market, they still go back to that ever. That one they know and trust. So for me, it's still relevant. And your second question is at what stage they are.
At the market.
What stage they are? Um, um, um. Honestly, I can't really answer that question, but let me just say they are in the maturity stage. Let me
Maturity.
just say maturity.
Okay. Ivan, do you want to go next? I think you can meet now. Did you select yes or no?
Hi, good evening.
Good evening.
I actually selected yes.
Okay.
From my own end, I believe St. Louis sugar still remain relevant and competitive in the market. Maybe first, the simplicity in their package. Other than they have, gained trust and people are willing to continue with the brand. They have been able to remain relevant in the sense that their design and their products, at ease at which one can make use of it. For example, the packaging now, it is in cubes. One can easily measure the number of intake of sugar, other than when you go for other products that is not that kind of a measure type. Maybe you just pour it into your cup, or you use your spoon to measure it. Other than that, so people still find it very easy with that, and then they can just take it two cubes or 3 cubes and they're okay with it. So I think that is one thing that has worked for them over a long time. And for me, their stage in the market, I would say it's like they are from the maturity stage now, they are a bit going towards a decline because there are other products coming up. And so for me, last month I was still considering buying one when I needed one. So they are still very much around.
Okay.
I think
Yes. For you to still be considering very well, I don't think they're in a decline. So
I think so, but okay.
yes, for me, I believe consistency and a distinguished product and brand name. Then yes, one thing that is very key that I needed to say is this. I'm not sure what the technical term is now. They're like the first to launch in that category. At least that's the first product of its category. So unlike the granulated sugar, the cube sugar, when you're talking of cube sugar, they are like the earliest brand, and they've been around, so that's stuck in everybody's mind. There's an unconscious ingrained identity with that makes you think St. Louis sugar when you think of any cube sugar. There are other competitions now, but St. Louis has like a chunk of the market already, and it has remained the same. So the new entrants into that category now are struggling to like compete with them because they've been around for long, and people, there's this what's it called? Is it brand? Oh, what's it called now? Like you are staying with a particular brand loyalty, yes. So
Yeah.
everybody that's identified with them are sticking with them. Once in a while, people try the other ones when St. Louis is not available. So I think that is what has worked for them. They're being the first in that category, being consistent, and then I think they've attained that stage of like we can call them premium if you want. So I think that's what's working for them. And yes, they are in the maturity stage. I can't say growth stage because I don't have their numbers to see if it's increasing, but I know they're in the maturity stage.
Nice, thanks. I need someone that voted no. Or did you vote no? And I saw that Bukumi was raising his hand before.
Yes, I voted no.
Okay, I'm listening.
Okay, I think they are still relevant, but not as relevant as before.
Okay, why?
Because as people have said, other competitors have started coming, and to be very honest, St. Louis was popular a lot, was very popular when we were kids, and that was literally the only brand that we knew. But now, other brands like Dangote Sugar, especially Dangote Sugar Sha, I think there's Golden Penny, but I know Dangote Sugar more. They've started coming into the market, and I don't think they're as relevant as before. If you even check like supermarkets and stores, you hardly, I don't remember the last time I've seen St. Louis in the supermarkets around me, or even when I just go to stores to buy groceries, you always see like a lot of other brands. And then St. Louis, I don't remember the last time I actually saw St. Louis Sugar. And that's to show that they're no longer as relevant as before, because before, like you would see St. Louis everywhere. You want to buy sugar in St. Louis, but even like roadside malams and retail stores, a lot of them have like other brands of sugar and not St. Louis. So I don't think they're as relevant as before. As for the stage that they're in now, I think they're in their maturity stage, heading towards decline because their sales are not increasing. I think that their sales are actually declining. Seeing as a lot of people they're no longer like that brand that we hold in such high esteem. So I think that their brand loyalty and everything is helping them now, but their sales are definitely declining and they're moving towards decline stage. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. All right, sorry, I dropped off for a few, but I think I got most of what you said. I'm going to wrap up this question please by 5:20. So please, if you have any, just make it short. Jessica, let's see what you have to say. You can unmute.
Oh, okay. Thank you. I think already said everything. In fact, I didn't even know that St. Louis was still existing. Yeah, to be honest, I was really shocked that some people were saying that they are still relevant. I'm like, I've not seen them in years. Like in all the supermarket, I don't even see them around. And I was like, then when I buy sugar, I don't really take sugar, but when I buy Golden Penny. That's what I see, or Dangote. I don't see St. Louis. So I'm like, what happened to our childhood sugar? What happened to them? How did they leave the markets? I was just curious. Well, I guess that maybe location matters. Maybe they're not probably in some part of the location. Maybe they are more in, I don't know what location, but they're not in this part of town where I am staying, I don't know where they are. But to me, I feel that they're actually not, they're in their decline phase. They're not maturity to decline. They're not really making making much profit as they were making before. The market is really saturated. And sugar, to be honest, I won't say there's anything special about that sugar anymore, because the other ones too are just pretty much the same thing. So there's nothing they're doing differently from the other sugars. So I
Okay.
think
Yeah. That's a good attempt. Thanks, Jessica. Bukumi, you can unmute your mic.
All right. Hello, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yeah, clearly. Bukumi, you can hear you. The mic is muted again.
Hello?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Yeah, sorry. I don't know what's wrong with the Zoom. So I said, I feel they are still relevant because it's still useful. I still see them sometimes, but I feel like they're in a decline stage because there is no much innovation around their packaging. And there's still one specific issue that I've always noticed right from time, the ant issue. So like they've just been like no innovation towards their packaging. So and with the rate at which the Dangote is going, I feel like they are in a decline because it's very easy to just see this Dangote sugar and salt and than to be thinking of St. Louis. So, but they are still relevant though. But then like a decline stage. If they can improve their packaging.
Okay, I think that was a good shot. I don't know that St. Louis is like to be blamed for their ant issues. So I'll just take Aminat and then I'm going to call it a day. Aminat, you can unmute your mic if you're still raising it. Aminat. Hello, Aminat. Hello? Okay, I think I'm going to attempt to answer that question. You can't unmute. Try now. Just try, ask you.
Okay. So I think Ore and Jessica said it all. You know, I am a baker and I buy sugar a lot. And as of last week, I still bought sugar. And I do parfait. I like to use, cubes and all that. I was at the market last week and I was still thinking of this St. Louis that I don't see this sugar anymore in the market. I know there has been a lot of, they have been, stable in the market for a very long time, blah, 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 blah. But as of now, I don't see them anymore in the market. The brands that I see, talk about Golden Penny, like they said, Dogan, then Mark Nicholas or Mark Nichols. And I mean, there are so many new ways of even designing sugar. And people do brown sugars that in cube forms and all that. But St. Louis, it's been long I saw them in the market. And I'm talking about both Lagos and Ilorin, because I'm currently in Ilorin at the moment, but I'm based in Lagos. So yeah, I also think that they're in their decline phase. Yeah.
Okay. I think everybody had answered correctly. There's no correct and there's no incorrect answer. And I'm going to say this first, right? Every product has its season. So I think you should probably read up fad and fashion as relating to product management. So it could be that people are just doing things because that's what's existing and stuff like that. So for sugar, first of all, you need to know that people are more aware about the health benefits about some product, right? So you see that some people are not using sugar as much. Maybe people that are baking, kitchen people and stuff like that. Like if you have like a kitchen business and if you like sugar personally, some people might still be using sugar. But you see that some people are moving from white sugar to brown sugar. And they're moving from brown sugar to honey and they're using sweeteners because some people are diabetic and stuff like that. That's the first part. The second part is, I don't think, in my opinion, and don't quote me on this, I don't think that St. Louis is as relevant as it used to be. For example, I can't remember the last time, and I think I like the Jessica put it as our childhood sugar, right? And I don't think it's as popular as it used to be. I can't remember the last time I saw it in the market at all. Like I went to the supermarket yesterday, and I can tell you for sure that I did not see St. Louis in the market. And it is for different reasons and for different things. Most people that use St. Louis use it for several reasons. It's either because you are a customer, you've always used St. Louis and you prefer it. It's either because the price is what attracts you to it. And for me, when I even used to use it, at some point it became less appealing to me because the sugar was very hard to melt. Like you need to break it very well for sugar to melt. And if it's not melting, then I don't have it. I don't have a need for it. And that's just by the side. I'm just saying I don't think that St. Louis is as relevant as it used to be. And I agree that it is more in the decline stage. It has matured, and I feel like it's in the decline phase. If you don't do something to make it more relevant, then I think it's going to die out, because now, as Jessica said, it's our childhood sugar. So maybe people within ages 20 to 25. But if you speak to pandemic babies, nobody knows what St. Louis is, right? And you will see that typically, like, competition has become more. You will see more brown sugar. Most of the sugars I see is either I'm seeing Golden Penny or I'm seeing Dangote. I don't know that I've seen what's it called, St. Louis. And more people are now gravitating towards what's it called? They're gravitating towards granulated sugar as opposed to cube sugar, right? We just bring me to ask that why are people not making sugars in circle format? Why is it only in cube? Anyways, that's by the side. Coming back to what I was saying, right? I don't think it's as common as it used to be, right? I think it's in the decline phase. Yeah, so that's what I think about that generally. And most people that use that, people that are more loyal. I don't think, because they're not marketing, they're not doing anything. If I can speak, let me use NASCO conflicts as an example. So for me, when I was younger, there was NASCO conflicts, there was Good Morning conflicts, and there was Kellogg's. Kellogg's was for, in my opinion, it was for people that were really rich. And I'm not from a very rich family, right? But the one that was more accessible was NASCO. NASCO was, you know, it was lovely. It would give you the Kellogg vibe. That was when I knew that, oh, if you put NASCO in milk and you listen to it, it has like this bubble cracking sound. Like Kellogg's used to have that. For me, Good Morning conflicts was just pure trash. No offense to anybody, anyways. But at some point in the market, you would see that, I don't know if anybody remembers, NASCO's sales were beginning to decline. I don't know if it was declining everywhere in the world, but for me, I did not used to see it as much as was again. I didn't used to see it as much anymore. People were buying more Kellogg's. Kellogg's had gone from being that very posh brand to being middle class brand. They now started packaging cornflakes in sachets as opposed to box, right? Then you would now remember that all of a sudden, NASCO now started doing this particular campaign, and you will see their promo. You will see their, what's it called, their flag, or what's that thing called, their billboards or at BRT stations, and there was this particular word that they were using for it. And you would see that they had gone from doing just the regular bland NASCO that was brown. They started doing a strawberry flavor. They started putting it in sachets so that more people could buy. Do you understand? And this is just trying to stay more competitive in the market. If not, they will die out, because now there's good money. There are other names of brands that I don't remember right now. So at each point, this is like why, as a product, like, you need to be competitive. So it's not only software products, even physical products in the market. Like, you need to stay competitive and stay innovative, right? But that's just what I have to say on that. So I want to wrap up by 5:45. So I'm going to share my screen again. Just a second, people. Just a second. Just one second. Okay, cool. Why is this in Australia? This is serious. Ew. So I think I'm having some sort of technical issues. I'm not sure why. Okay, yeah. We are back in line. Can anybody see my screen? Can anybody see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm going to talk about the customer discovery techniques for requirement gathering before we take it to close. So I mentioned introduction, I mentioned ideation, I mentioned ideation validation. So I want to mention something that is very particular, which is like the core responsibility of the product manager. So typically you work with your UX designer or UX researcher, depending on your organization. So at this point is the customer discovery process. And what's the customer discovery process? The customer discovery process is the stage where you begin to identify who your customers are, what are their pains, what are their problems. You begin to match you begin to match solutions to meet a particular problem. And this is the main, this is like one of the primary tasks of a product manager. Even after your product has gone to the market, you need to always continually do this to see if like are there more customers that you can be solving for, is your product still relevant, yada yada yada, like that. And customer discovery is done through interviews, immersion, focus groups. So it's either you're having a call, an interview with them, or like you're sending surveys, you're having focus groups, you're going to wherever they are. If you want to solve for market, you can go and sit down in the market and see how they're doing things so that you can solve for them. So typically this is how you handle customer discovery. So I think that at this point, I'm going to stop presenting here. We're going to have Kahoot in a second, but I know that I gave an assessment the last time, and we have two groups. Who is the group leader here? What the group leaders? Yano, are you one of them?
Yano and Ore.
It's already here. Okay, so can you nominate someone from your group to quickly take us through the presentation? It shouldn't take more than 5 minutes, please. Are your group members here? Or in case you need to unmute, you can mute now.
Yes, our group members are here.
Okay, so who wants to go for the team?
We sort of like distributed the subtopics or the points.
Okay.
So it's supposed to be like 4 people presenting.
All right, you guys have the floor. 5 minutes. I'm checking.
5 minutes. Wait, 5 minutes per person.
No, for your group. Let's see what you've done.
Okay, 5 minutes for the entire group.
Yeah. Let's just see. You guys can present. I'm waiting to mute my mic now. I'm waiting to mute my mic right back.
Okay.
Co-host access. So if you need to unmute people in your group, you can ask them to unmute.
All right. Sorry, please give me a minute. Okay, so we did like a I guess there's no point sharing our PowerPoint. Okay, let me just
Please share your PowerPoint. And don't worry, just do as if I'm not here.
All right. Please give me a minute. Okay. So we're talking about the roles of a PM in the stages of a product life cycle. Firstly, the product life cycle is the complete process involved in taking a product into the market. So it's basically the work put into the product to ensure its success or failure from start to finish, and it's carried out by a cross-functional team within the company headed by the product manager. There are 4 main stages involved in the product life cycle: the introduction phase, growth phase, maturity, and decline. But before the introduction phase, we have a sort of sub-phase, I guess, development phase. This is the research phase before the product is introduced into the market. So the research phase is where like product prototypes are developed, mock designs, etc. And then the primary role of the PM in this phase is to identify user needs through interviews, focus groups, etc. to determine product market fit. And then this is basically what aids in building the product specifics and features. Then they effectively communicate these research products to the project manager and development team. Then we have the introduction stage. The introduction stage is where the product is launched. And this is where all the research that has been done is put to test. The role of the PM here is creating awareness in the market, marketing, clarifying features and benefits to the marketing and sales team, and making sure that everything they do aligns with the vision and objectives of the company. They also get feedback about customers' impression of the products from the early adopters, which are the people that first use the product and are excited about the product. I would pass the mic to Olabode, my presenter or team member, to continue in the growth phase. Olabode, you can unmute.
Olabode, is Olabode still here?
Olabode, where are you?
Olabode, don't shame your team. Oh.
Okay, it's here. Akimbode.
Oh, sorry, Akimbode.
It's here.
Can you unmute? Do you need?
No. Okay, yes, I can. Someone has unmuted me now. Okay, so the growth phase of this product lifecycle is where the PM becomes the growth hacker. That is, it does everything to see that the product is getting ground, taking its own market share of users, ensuring that the product continues to generate revenue, the numbers are increasing, the downloads and all of that are being tracked. You are seeing the product consistently increasing its reach. And then it's important that the PM in that stage keeps tab on the competition, ensure that the product is giving maximum utility and the value to the users. And of course, like I mentioned, taking note of what the competition is doing, and as necessary, putting up features in the product that would make users always come back to it. If, for instance, you have a competition that is putting in a
Akimbode.
Speaking.
Sorry, can anybody hear him? Or am I the only one that can hear him?
I can't hear him. I can only hear you.
Okay, I'll just continue. So, Akimbode, are you here? I think I just heard his voice. Okay. So basically, the PM in the growth phase works to increase the growth and secure the products based in the market. They manage competition carefully, so they look at what their competitors are doing. Make sure that they are always ahead of the competitors. Also having like fair pricing compared to what the competitors have. They also look at the user needs, the user pain points. They ensure that they are developing new features constantly to meet user requirements, and also fixing bugs, working with the engineering team to make sure that they are fixing the bugs, etc. We have a case study of Uber. A case study of Uber, please hold on. Okay, so using Uber as our case study, during their growth phase, their competitor is Bolt Courier, and then Bolt Courier created this feature or this product within their app to serve their customers better. And then Uber looked at what they were doing and did the same, and did it better. Sorry, I don't really have details on this here because I'm not the one presenting, but moving on to maturity phase, I'm letting Esther take the floor now. Esther, are you here? Let me look for Esther. Okay.
So while we wait for Esther, let me just complete that. The issue was that when both
I
saw,
am here. I wasn't unmuted before. I wasn't allowed to unmute before. Oh, sorry, continue.
okay, thanks. So when Uber created the new feature, it became a different product, and
Network is bad.
working over time, and it did something good, which is to incorporate that same the process for the users. So the users don't need to download a new app, don't need to register again, but they just open the same app and then the feature is added on. You can now tap to request for the Bolt courier, and then it makes it easier for the user and reduces their registrations and the duplication of their details on the same Bolt resources. So the growth stage is where the PM must always improve the app, make sure that they match up with competition, and then they remain relevant. Thank you. Esther, you can please go on.
All right, thank you. So here at the maturity stage, this is usually the longest time a successful product to spend in the market, and the product is already well established, which is most likely also saturated with other competitors. And sales growth is usually very slow, or it is declining, or in a plateau state that it's neither going back nor going forward, just at that particular point. And so at this stage, your goal as a product manager, next please, your goal as a product manager is to prolong the life cycle, the lifespan of the product, and to reduce churn and attrition of your customers. And can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you clearly.
Yes, we can.
So your responsibilities majorly are in product differentiation, to differentiate your products from your competitors. This is when you use branding, you highlight the features that give you an advantage over your competitors' product. And, for instance, projecting the customer testimonials from those who are enjoying your product. And also increase customer appeal. That is, you enhance the features, or maybe you introduce product variants just to keep your customers still interested. And this might also require you to work on your pricing. You might need to lower the pricing so that you remain competitive and keep having sales. You might want to offer incentives at this point. And because you are reducing prices, this might actually call on you to reduce the cost so that you can maximize your profit. Then you try to make your supply chain, your production process, and things like customer support very efficient so that you maintain low costs while also making profits. Then, for instance, using the Uber case study that we've been working with, Uber is at a point where it is focusing on attracting the late majority customers, that is people who are not really on board with using Uber before, and they're trying to attract those ones, as well as retaining the existing customers in the market. So, I mean, in the US, we have Lyft, which is competing with Uber, and here in Nigeria, we have Bolt. And one thing that they have done is to introduce product variants and other features. Next, please. Okay, so I'll just continue. So, for instance, here in Oyo State, Ibadan, Bolt has the, I think, only market share so far that we know of. But Uber is trying to enter the market, and it is coming in with a product variant, which is Uber Moto, that is bike, Uber Okada in local parlance. So it is entering the new market and at a lower cost compared to the other ones who are already here. Then it's also trying the whole differentiation angle. For instance, in Mexico, Uber has Uber Planet, which proposes that they can reduce carbon footprint using the hybrid or electric vehicles for their business. And so for customers that they are trying to retain or appeal to attract newly, who are very concerned about the environment, Uber is saying, yes, you can try our products because we are concerned about the carbon footprint. Then they introduce safety features like audio reminders for drivers to wear their seat belts. Then in March, they also introduced the Uber Explore feature, such that you can book entertainment, to make your dinner reservations, to buy event tickets, and to get your ride discounts. when you are using Uber. So those are ways in which, though they are the maturity phase, but they are trying to still keep the sales up and keep the customers interested and get other people to also get on board. So I'll hand over for the next phase, which is the decline stage.
All right, thank you. So I'm just, so for the decline phase, here, decline phase is when the product demand begins to dwindle down. So that means customers are no longer like using your products, probably going to a different competitor. And this the job of the product manager now is to actually, have meeting with the stakeholder to kind of decide, what do we need to do? Like, what's the decision that they need to do at this phase? Because decline means that money is not coming in, there's no value, there's no profit. So, so the product manager would have to, ask, do you keep the product going? Do we kill the product, or do we just rebuild the product? So based on the data insights and the nature of what is happening, so the product manager will have to kind of know where the problem is coming from. Is it that the issue is the entire market, or is it that our product is not good enough? So if they decide to keep the product going, they can do maybe enhance the future, or probably just keep the product floating, and decide on what to do, or they can kill the product, they can let the product go and try something else, or they can reboot the product. That means take the product out of the market and maybe change the user experience, add new technology before launching it back into the market. For instance, now I'll use Uber as a case study, as we are using. Uber had a great decline in 2020. We all know that, during the time of COVID, the transportation market actually stopped. So there was no driver, there was no customer. So at that point in time, Uber was, as in every day they were getting a decline. So nobody's using their product. Everybody's at home, afraid of going out and then there was a sit at home. So you cannot even go out, driver cannot go out. So as a product manager, what's important is to, calm down and, find out, what do I do at this point? How do I, make sure that our products are still, it's still going to be relevant, it's still going to be used, and then you have to decide, this is like the entire market, this is like the whole transport system. It's not peculiar to my products. So that means that we can find a way to still keep the product relevant, depending on when this issue goes down. So it could be that this COVID could have lasted for years, but the job of the product manager is to decide, should we just just leave this product entirely? So what Uber did was, because of they're not getting money, customers were not being, as in their staffs were still getting paid. So that means there was no driver, there was no customer, there was no money, but we were still paying their staff. So what they did was that, let us even try to reduce our costs. That is, they fired about 3,700 workers in 2020. And then they shut down about 40% of each driver assist center worldwide to reduce the cost of operation. So after that, what the PM now did was that, they now had to tap into like the health center, that's the healthcare market. So what they did that they now added a feature on their application where customers were able to. So they now partnered with Walgreens. After they partnered with Walgreens is like a pharmaceutical company. They are into giving vaccinations. So what they did, they partnered with them. They now built a feature on Uber where customers will go to Uber and book vaccination appointment with Walgreens and then book a ride. They also slash the cost of the ride. So what that made it made them relevant still. So what it now brought in, like, customers were now coming to use the Uber app to go and get their vaccination, and just basically keeping the app on the face of the customers, just to make sure that they are still alive, and pending when the whole COVID situation went or we go down or something. So that's one of the ways, like, the PM actually kept the Uber application going, and to keep going, and it's still going till now. So another thing they also did was also to go into Uber Eats. So Uber Eats is like Uber Get. Uber Get is like anything, grocery shopping, prescription. So they basically like, you know, bring all your orders to your house. So most people were still scared of going out. So they were just, you know, bringing orders, you know, to your house. So you go to the Uber app, you order for groceries, you order for your prescription, you order for stuff. So these are one of the ways that, you know, that Uber kept themselves relevant during the COVID-19. And as you can see, they are still relevant and they're still like, you know, making profit till now. So yeah.
Thank you, Jessica. Well done. I must say that I quite enjoyed you guys' presentation. I think I heard a couple of things that I think I liked. The first thing was product differentiation, meaning that at different points in your life cycle, like there is going to be a key differentiator. What differentiated you when you enter the market might not necessarily sustain you in the market, and that's why like you come up with product lines. And product lines typically have variations to like what the product looks like in the first version. So, you know, like Google started with Google search before they now started with YouTube and stuff like that. So like your product keeps growing over time and then you need to be able to differentiate. Another thing I heard was attrition and churn. So as a product manager and you go through the different stages in the life cycle, you have to keep measuring how users are interacting with your product. And you can either do that by tracking metrics and speaking to your customers, right? Which is something I think I heard. But I need to say something like, as a product manager, you are typically the rationale of the team, meaning that you are the one doing a lot of the thinking. A lot of people would have an idea of how your product should look like and how it should work at different times, but your job is to do research and make sure that each point your product stays relevant in the market, right? And you're ensuring buying. I want to say something before like the next person goes, right? You need to, like, product market fit is not solely the job of the product manager. Like, you can't do that on your own. It's both the collaboration of everybody, marketing, sales team, and also like the market itself, right? So well done, guys. I really enjoyed your presentation. Yanu and Tim, if you guys pass 5 minutes, I'm waiting to call. Yanu.
Yes, it's just for group 2, it's just a solo presentation, so I'll be doing everything. Yeah, so good evening, everyone. I would go ahead to share my screen now. Just a minute. Okay. Yep. Yeah, so good evening, everyone. My name is Ianu and I'm the rep for Group 2. And today we'll be talking briefly about the product life cycle. So the product life cycle can be likened to any life cycle. It's just basically the story or the flow from birth to death, literally. And there are a lot of nomenclatures for the product life cycle, but I found this to be the most generally accepted, which is introduction, growth, maturity, and decline. So basically, it's just how our product starts from when we take it to the market to, that is the birth, to when it goes out of the market, that is the decline. Yeah, so typically the product life cycle starts from the introduction. However, there is a very, very important component of the product life cycle, which is the development of the product itself. And this is very, very important to product managers because this is actually where we spend a lot of money, and we in this context is the company, where we spend a lot of money, the company of the business, and on building a product, and we can't even sell the product. So in that moment in time, we are spending a lot of money building a product and trying to solve the problem with the product we are building, and we really don't. So we are spending a lot of money here, and as product managers, we have to like be aware of this stage. So basically, the development stage is the research stage of the product. So this is when we are trying to check: is this product, is there a market for this product? Is this product solving a problem? So we are going to be doing market analysis, user research. We are going to be doing a lot of competitive analysis and all of that. So this is when there's going to be a lot of conversations with the product owner, with the CEO, with the company, with stakeholders and all of that. We're trying to like take an idea from just words to an MLP, minimum lovable product, or an MVP to testing that and iterating until we have a product that we can push to the market. Now, what are the goals of PM in this initial stage, in this zeroth level of the product lifecycle? At this stage, I saw something recently, and it's that it's not usually about the problem we are solving, it's about the solution. So there's always a lot of solutions to every problem. So we have to ensure that whatever we are building is the right solution for that right problem that we have identified. And we product managers don't work alone. There are a lot of teams. So this is the stage where this is the stage where we are driving our team to alignment. We are trying to let them, we are trying to align everybody to the product vision and align everybody to see that this is where we need to build this. And this is also the stage where we are going to be doing a lot of evangelism. We're going to be talking to a lot of persons, trying to sell them to the vision. Also, this is when product managers have to identify requirements and prioritize. We have to know which of the many requirements do we need to launch in the initial version, which of the many requirements do we need to push out in the MVP or in the MLP, depending on and this is also when we're going to be coordinating all the teams to build our product. Moving on to the initial stage or step of the product lifecycle is we have the introduction stage. This is the stage when a product is introduced into the market. It's first launched into the market. This is when we have opened up the box of gift and we are showing the market that this is what we have. And a product that is currently in that stage in the world right now is the self-driving cars. It is currently in the introduction phase. There's a lot of marketing, there's a lot of pushing out that this is the future, this is what's up, this is what is next. So this is usually the stage where we are trying to we're still iterating and trying to take customer insight and market data to get to a product market fit. Also, we already have a developed product. This is time for us to also develop a market for the product. Now, what is the role of the PM in this stage? PMs are subject matter experts. Everybody's coming to us in this stage to ask questions. Everybody's coming to us with queries. Everybody's coming to us to know exactly what this product does. And so we have to understand everything about the product, the market, so that we can answer questions from marketing, from sales, from support, from whatever thing and stakeholders. Also, this is the stage where we can mix up our product vision and we can get it all mixed up, because there'll be a lot of opinions when we are entering into the market. This is where we have to be firm and we have to understand how to manage different and sometimes competing visions to get everybody aligned on the product vision. Also, this is where we develop market strategy. And for new products, this is where we have to generate demand for new products, because we are entering a market that we probably discovered or a market that is there already, but we are trying to service some niche. So we have to develop or generate demand for our products. Now, moving on to the next stage of the product lifecycle is the growth stage. This is where we are hoping that our product takes us to the moon. So this is where usually this stage happens when our product has been accepted. A lot of people are already using the product. A lot of people are interested. So this is when we are starting to look at customer loyalty. We are trying to turn this acceptance to customer loyalty. And a very, very popular and typical example of a company that does well with customer loyalty or turning users to loyal customers is the iPhone. A lot of people use the iPhone just because of the customer loyalty. And this is what we want for our product. We want customers to become loyal customers. Also, this is the stage where competitors and copycats are around the corner. They are trying to see and see if it's possible to emulate what we are doing, and also see if it's possible to push us out of the way, because this is a corporate world. It's a dog world, and at every point in time, already established brands are wary of smaller companies. And if we have managed to discover a new market, or we are managed to do something novel, already established brands also want a share of this new market. So it's a stage where we have to be wary of competitors. And what are the roles of PM in this growth stage? This is when we have to ensure that we are not just sticking to the customers we have on ground before. We are looking at bringing in additional customers by tapping into new potential buyers and audience. So this is where we have to look beyond our early adopters and move to new customers and new markets. Also, this is where, as product managers, we have to be scientists. We have to uncover patterns and trends so that we can understand exactly what our competitors are doing, what the market is saying. And this will allow us to prioritize the product roadmap. Now, before this stage, before this growth stage, we already have a product roadmap, and we already have an hierarchy of how we want to launch out features and initiative. But now we have to look back and ask ourselves, is this something? Do we need to launch something else? Is this product roadmap that we had before? Is this going to service the current success that we are gaining or we are gathering? So we have to look at prioritizing the roadmap. Also, we have to pay special attention to competitors. And this is a company that struggled in these stages, a Clubhouse. Clubhouse was in the growth stage already, and Twitter came and made all of Clubhouse as a product into a singular feature. And Twitter also listened and gave us all we always wanted, which is the ability to record sessions. So this is just to say that this is a stage where we have to pay attention to competitors and be proactive about what they are doing. Moving on to the maturity stage, this is just after the growth stage. This is when there's a lot of increase in sales and customer growth. This is basically where we start chilling with the big boys. We are up there with the big boys, and there's a lot of success we are enjoying. However, this is also when the competition is most aggressive. This is when, because we have survived the initial attempts earlier, and this is where competition is very, very aggressive. And this is also where sales begins to level up. So let's just go back to the previous chart and see, this is the maturity stage, is where we make the most money. And this is also where we get to a point where sales starts to level up. Basically, this is the saturation point where we can't go beyond that point, because there are a lot of competitors. We can't sell for more than let's say we have 3 billion internet users. We can't sell for 3.1 billion internet users. We can only service these internet users. We can't service for more than those on the internet. So this is just saying that this is where we eventually get a maximum, a peak, then we slowly start to decline from this peak. So going back to the maturity stage, then we have to ask ourselves, what is the role, or what are the roles of PM in the maturity stage? I personally think the PM have just there's one particular important function, or there's the most important function for the PMs in this stage is responding to this stage proactively. And there are two ways the PM can do that. One is restarting the PLC, which is the product lifecycle. So we can have multiple PLCs in the PLC, so we can have we can have 20 PLCs in the same PLC. So this is when we have to check and see, can we add more features? Can we add new features? Can we go back to the growth stage? Can we make the products more attractive and getting more users, or trap or tempt users from other brands that are competing with us? Also, another option is accepting maturity and keeping the products in that maturity. This is where we are trying to extend the saturation point beyond what. I'll try to. I'll soon be done. Beyond what we should get. Moving on. What are the rules of PM? What are rules of PM in this stage is selecting the right KPI and tracking performance. We don't want to measure churn when we should mention retention. We don't want to measure acquisition of new users when we should measuring a drop of rates. So we have to be sure that we are measuring the right KPI and tracking that KPI. We also have to go back to the books and review our product strategy, because we have to try to leverage and enjoy all of the success in the maturity stage. Then the final stage is the decline stage. This is when we don't want to get there, but we eventually have to get there. Every product we have to get there. It might take a lot of time, but every product we have to get there. This is when our product slowly crashes and hits the ground. Moving on, what are the rules of PM in the decline stage? We have to understand what is driving the decline, and I've identified 3 reasons why there can be a decline. Reason one is the entire market is shrinking. This is when the market is just not there again. A very popular and typical example would be long videos. The attention span of this generation, and this, which is the majority of internet users, don't want to sit down and watch videos forever again. We just want short videos. We want to laugh and move on to the next video, and probably we want to get a wide range of emotions at the same time. So TikTok came and did that excellently, and now everybody's doing the same thing with reels and all of that. And this is just to say that the market is shrinking. So we have to do that by considering entering new markets. Then the other thing that can happen is the product is declining itself. So this we can respond by adding new features or by relaunching the products. And very good example is Coca-Cola with Coca-Cola Zero. The market is shrinking. They want to enter a market where of healthier soda drinks, and they did Coca-Cola Zero to satisfy that market. Then finally, there's always a state that we'll get to, whether we like it or not, which is we have to sunset the products. And when we are doing this, we have to ensure that the transition is as painless as possible, because we have loyalists. We owe it to them to make the transition as painless as possible. So this is, we can do that by helping them with exporting their data. We can do that with helping them with giving a lot of prior notice, like GitHub did recently, where they mailed developers. I got the mail that we should, developer story is sunsetting, and we should take all of our data away and all of that. So then this is a summary of everything, and yeah, thank you. That's my time.
Thank you, Ian. So I think I particularly liked that, he said that the role of the product manager shifts per stages. I think I particularly like that. However, I wanted to correct something. As a product manager, I think that your focus is less on the solution and more on the problem. You need to continually understand why. I think that the solution is a means to an end. So you need to always stay grounded on the problem you're trying to solve. So I think that will be it for today. We're going to have our Kahoot in the next session. But before we wrap up, right? Well done, Ian. Well done to the other team. I hope it wasn't just Ian that worked on it. So I'm going to drop the assessment in the WhatsApp group. So there's going to be that presentation in the next class. So you'll be required to write a product requirement documentation for a particular feature on a product. So I'm going to send that documentation across through Imole, right? But yes, well done, guys. People that presented today will not present next week. So yeah, do we have any questions before we call it today? Questions, guys? Okay. Did we all understand everything that I said today? Hello, can anybody hear me? Yeah, thank you. All right, guys. See you at the next class. It was nice chatting with you today. Have a lovely week. Bye.